For the deep web. Welcome to our sister podcast, the Blocked Down Blockchain Podcast, charting the rise of blockchain technology in all aspects of our lives and how it changes from the perspective of the electronic influencer post-COVID-19. BDB1 is the sister podcast of Starcast, the electronic influencer podcast, another ADMP production. Ladies, gentlemen, we do pure signal to end the infodemic here, right? No fake news will be allowed. My name is Herman Jumesi, founder of the ADMP Virtual Incubator, and my co-host is Dr. Won Kim of the ESC Paris Business School, the one and still the best blockchain master on the French hexagon. You do have something to say to that, Doctor?
Yes, hello, and thank you for having me. I know that we co-host the show, and it's rare that it's the first time that I'm actually being interviewed. But I do think I do think that there are something important to say about the program because it is a brand new program, and I think that this is a great opportunity to kind of let people know what's going on with the blockchain that during these lockdown periods and what's happening, because I think that there are still lots of confusion between what people think is blockchain and what people think is cryptocurrency. And there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Okay, a nice segue into today's topics. Thank you very much for that, Doctor, which is totally COVID-19 free. Yes, you heard it. This podcast is 100% COVID-19, aka Corona free. All right, we're going to talk about the world post-Corona. Okay, this is really what we are into. Okay, and I have to say, we actually have to be careful when using these names nowadays over the global wireless World Wide Web. So guess what? We will not use it at any point in time during this show. Rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, of the new podcasting order. All right. Question one. Let's get straight into it, okay? Master education. The challenge of the blockchain ecosystem, also known as the space, entering today the field of education.
Yes.
We've covered startups, COOs, all sort of amazing blockchain people through our sister podcasts. And I have to say that basically, if the space was paying a bit more attention to what was going on in education, the space could be able to shape tomorrow's blockchain leaders and staffers from the get-go into the people they actually want to hire as soon as it stepped outside of university or school, right? It's quite logical. Thus, avoiding the pitfall of the previous boomer generation education system, let's say that, all right? So this podcast will try to answer those very simple questions with our guests, okay? Is this the time for the know-how generation to take over? Millennial adjacents, boomers even, and many others can have their say right now by dropping a line to our lovely comment section on Spreaker, please. So listen, like, and share this podcast. It's 100% pure knowledge. So today, we want a clear answer regarding those two simple questions. One, why should I do a master in blockchain education? And two, why should I attend yours, Dr. Won Kim? Hopefully, we'll get some clear answers, as clear as the Satoshi white paper from our guest today. All right, so question one, okay? Take us through first, before we delve into the whole blockchain ecosystem, the space, take us through your origin story, your background, and when did you buy your first Bitcoin, if ever you did such a thing?
Thanks. Actually, I got involved in the Bitcoin in 2013. And for me, it was a bit of a horror story because even though, and I got into it because many of my students were doing I was encouraging students to do thesis in virtual currency at the time. And this had nothing to do with a blockchain based currency. It was just virtual currency because I was fascinated with Second Life and I was fascinated with Facebook credit. minutes because
right.
I saw the opportunity of Facebook becoming the World Bank. And this concept really fascinated me and from in 2013. And so this led me to discover Bitcoin. And so I became very early Bitcoin bull, even though I didn't buy any in the beginning. I told everyone else to buy it. And then I realized the hypocrisy, and so I decided to buy in. And then when I bought in, there was only one place I could buy it online at the time, or which I knew about, which was Mt. Gox. And I became one of its first victims. And so that was my traumatic experience, which kind of scarred me. And and therefore I missed out on the whole Ethereum rise. Even though I did believe in Ethereum, I did not necessarily want to buy the cryptocurrency because I didn't really trust the exchanges anymore.
Of course, yeah. All right. So, yeah, it's. I think all of us, when we enter the space, we all have our kind of horror story, and then our nice story, I would say. So, we have both, and then usually, I guess you have to weigh out, which one is more important, and then you realize that actually you better in than out. So, a purely P2P version of electronic cash would allow online payment to be sent directly from one person to another without going through a single financial institution. Those were the forewords of the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper. So when did you fall upon the Satoshi white paper that you can still find on www.bitcoin.org, by the way? And what was your first reaction after reading it, the Satoshi white paper?
Oh, me, I was blown away. I thought that it was the most elegant and most complex at the same time paper ever wrote. And so really it kind of blew me away. And of course, it took me a while to really understand the different components of it, which I didn't, and that was what really got me. It was the Bitcoin white paper that got me into looking at what the blockchain is. And it's a great read. It's not difficult. There are but there is a lot of references that go way back. And I got an opportunity to meet David Chaum, who is probably one of the most cited innovators of Bitcoin.
David who?
David Chaum.
Okay, David Chaum. All right. Okay, of course, yeah, David Chaum. Okay.
But there are many others. But that's why it's so technical in the sense that it really is an amalgamation of so many different innovations over the past 20, 30
years, from cryptography to Okay, that's amazing stuff. So you've got geek credibility aplenty, and I'm sure your students will enjoy the funds of know-how you carry around you. All right. So, but I also believe that you're not just a theoretician. You're actually a doer as well, right? I think you released an API or an app.
I'm the kind of professor that likes to launch startups and be more practical, hands-on, rather than just publish papers.
So you teach from the front line, right? You teach from the front line.
I would like to. That's what I hopefully I'm doing, and a more practice-based approach towards education, especially now that I see, especially with digital marketing, because I'm also involved in the digital marketing department at ESE. We tend to encourage a more practice-based approach, as is this new Masters of Blockchain program, which is a very practice-based approach. And of course, you're going to need fundamental theory, but it is not the objective. It is not to just pass an exam.
So you've encountered startup founders issue throughout your professional life, if I get it right? You've been through that sort of the blitz scaling, the roller coaster of iteration, design.
Yeah, mostly failures. Mostly failures. But yes, I still keep trying though. I'm one of those dreaming fools that keep failing and keep trying and try to figure out how to keep going with constant desperation. This I guess is constant learning if you consider the fact that failure for me is hard, but it is, I have to say, it is true that it is a learning experience.
It's a learning experience. You learn from your mistakes. You learn from trying. You you test, you learn, you deploy. And that's extremely important. I think that the people have to understand that, the listeners have to understand that as well. It also provides us a nice segue into the foundation of this master of yours, because it seems to have like a double-edged sword, right? It's kind of a reflection, not so much on your personality per se or on your professional, if you want, cycle, but I would say the master you've built has this double-edged sword, since it is focusing on kind of blockchain project management and also blockchain technology learning.
Yes.
So at the same time, am I right or?
Yes, exactly. When the master was designed, actually it wasn't designed by myself. It was designed by others at the ESE school. It's a consortium, in fact, between three schools. It's a partnership between ESCE, which is the school that I'm at, and then there is ECE, which is the engineering school, and then there is IFG, which is an executive business school. And so these three programs we put together, and the reason why these three schools are together is because we have different strengths and different accreditations.
Okay, all right, okay. So you've already pulled, if you want, the academic aspect of it, but do you also have partners outside of the academic field, or?
Yes, the partners outside are the people who teach, or the unofficial partners. And we have a strong partnership, for example, with the largest accelerator for blockchain, which is Chain Accelerator. And yes, and they're at Station F, and this is the largest accelerator in Europe, and that's so Nicholas Contu teaches for our program. We also have many links with Consensus, which is the largest development agency for Ethereum.
Okay, all right. So you have very very good partners, and but also. The second question would have is what sort of what are the ideal profile of people you're expecting to apply? I mean, what sort of people can apply to your program?
Yeah, very good question. This is we have four main types of profiles, and we actually, if you look at our first group that we have now, actually we have a great balance of these four profiles. And the first profile is someone who is an executive or manager and wants to move up, very interested in blockchain, and wants to develop a project within either his company or even outside the company as a spin-off. And so that would be the first profile. Another profile that we have are master's students who did their masters in somewhat on blockchain, and they did a thesis in blockchain, and now they want to build something, and so that's our second profile.
All right.
And then we have programmers who come from the engineering side and who say, okay, I want to build the project. And so these are the main kind of profiles that we have at the moment. And it is targeted for these four main profiles.
Okay then. All right. So a whole raft of people can apply. Can you by any stretch of the imagination, give us a feel of what led you to considering building this this huge block that is a master. I mean, in many words, I mean, I guess I want to say that which problem were you trying to solve in regard to the industry, let's say, for example, the space, in regard to the space? Yeah.
If you look at prior to our program, there were many certificate programs or education programs related to, first of all, what is blockchain? And that I would say is one side of the education which is part of many education systems, is trying to discover what the blockchain is. However, if you look at specific blockchain master's programs or specific blockchain certificate programs, mostly they're certificate programs, you will see that they're technical focused, or they were technically focused. They're trying to figure out how to create a blockchain, or what the cryptography behind it, the different approaches, and the different technical aspects of the blockchain. What we saw was a big need was that there are many, especially in 2017, 2018, many projects, blockchain projects were out there, but the adoption and the application towards the industry was the missing link. This was a big area where we had a lot of incompetency because it takes not only the technical knowledge, but strategic business knowledge to make a project succeed. And if you didn't have both of these talents or capacities, the projects would normally fail.
So I mean, I guess that's very important to have the two set of skills, the more managerial skills and the more technical skills blended together in one program.
Yes.
That's what you were trying to achieve, and that's because you saw that missing link in the space. And actually, I think you do attend a lot of conferences and meetups yourself to keep a pace with the change, never-ending change in the space. Actually.
Yeah, and that's it's a very dynamic field, and so there's a lot of changes, a lot of new projects coming up. There are a lot of paradigm shifts, and these paradigm shifts, like for example, happening on a monthly basis. So a lot of things change very quickly in this field, and that's what makes it exciting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right, okay. Did you? I mean, I'm just going to ask you random questions, but do you know what's the price of Ethereum today, or?
I don't really follow. I'll check right now, and I think I hope it's going up.
It's been going up. It's been going steadily up.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me that Ethereum would go up, because as if you look at the activity of Ethereum that's happening, and you see the number of projects, which has the largest developer community in the world, it should go up, in my opinion. But then, if you look at the actual value, is a relative thing always, and that is why the problem of cryptocurrency. But in terms of my observation of the activities that are happening on Ethereum, especially with decentralized finance and the number of real projects actually coming to fruition, this is a very exciting time for Ethereum.
All right, so Ethereum is at $175.93. It's been going up by 2.81%. It's got a market cap of $19.46 billion. Okay, and also there is another thing that is quite important. Another data set that is important. The Bitcoin halving is happening in 20 days.
Yes, but experts say that it probably won't change the price much, because the effects of the halving take several months to take place. But with the cryptocurrency I've never been able to consistently predict the cryptocurrency behavior. Yeah. So, for me, I'm not an expert in this field, and it would be, me too. I would love to know, but I'm just a buyer and holder.
Okay, then, because what's going to happen on May the 12th, it's kind of May the 12th, May the 11th. Yes. We're talking the end of the confinement in France. So the coincidence is a bit, it's very strange. I mean, a lot of things are happening nowadays, and coincidence all over the place.
Yeah, but remember, we have to put a caveat here. We're not trying, this is not financial advice. Huh?
Definitely not. It is not financial advice. We are purely looking at data and looking at what data is telling us and trying to draw some sort of conclusion. The conclusion, we'll leave that to you. All right, to the listeners anyway. So, as far as the conclusion is concerned, okay, podcast or music when working out during this confinement? Do you do podcast or music when working out?
For me, actually, podcast.
All right.
I have a lot of podcasts that I still don't have enough time to listen to, but I have a selection of podcasts that I really...
Do you have names, especially in the field, in the space?
Yes, of course.
People you listen to?
Yes, I do listen to Tim Ferriss, and Tim Ferriss is one that I've been following for a long time. There is A16 and Z podcast, which I really like, which I consider for everyone. I also like the business. I mostly look at the business ones. There's Business Daily. There is How I Built This. There is Problem Solvers, which I really love too. There's Market Foolery. And so these are the podcasts, and I wish I had more time to listen to all the episodes, but unfortunately, I'm still behind because there are also books I like to read too.
Okay, that's interesting. And as far as the space is concerned, do you have any kind of Twitter profile or I don't know, blogs that you kind of read, where you take your knowledge from? I don't know, in Ethereum or Bitcoin or, whatever.
Yeah, there's Cointelegraph. There's a lot of media that, and actually...
Cointelegraph, right? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, of course. There's a lot of industry media that that I've subscribed to, so it all comes at once. But that again also is... it's kind of, now we have the comfort of having to have the news come to us. So I have many different sources that, that are programmed for company. Yeah.
All right. There is another question in regard, because I know the master is in this, I think it's in its first or second year now, I would say. Mm-hmm. And it has as far as France is concerned, it has a particular position.
Yes. This is a very particular, we are the first official masters of in this field. So you can, there are other programs, but those are certificate programs, normally short term. But ours is a full-blown master's program, and they can even get an executive MBA. So it's so with the IFG, there's an option to also have an executive MBA.
So there is an exit strategy for the people, Okay, good.
Of course, yeah. So this is a fully accredited. And this is from the CGE, and the CGE is the Conférence des Grandes Écoles, which is kind of like the Ivy Leagues in France. And so this is a fully accredited master's, and they call it Master Spécialisé, and because it is a program that is kind of the specialized part of the master's. So it's a second year of the master's. So in France, there's a master's is normally a 2-year program. There's Master 1 and Master 2. And this would be kind of like a Master 2 plus in a way. After you've done your Master 1, you can come to us, or your Master 2, you can come do this specialization. And really, it's a full-blown, we are the first in France. And it's fully accredited, and this is what we're proud of because we are we are the only one in France to really offer this type of accreditation.
All right, so thank you very much for that. Well, we're going through the painful questions now, but how much does it cost?
Yes, actually. I personally think it's a great deal. Okay. And the reason why is because, I know that if I told Americans these prices, they flip because it's so cheap. But for French people, they look at it opposite. It's about 9 or 10,000 for, if you're 9,000, if you're a former ESE student or alumni, and maybe 12,000, if you're not. So it's a 12,000 euro program. And that includes 14 months of learning, but it's designed in a way that you can also have a job, full-time job, or internship on the side, and so that you're able to do this because half of it is online, half of it is in the classroom, or now on Zoom.
So half of it is online. What do you mean by half of it is online?
So half of it, we might say in today's language, asynchronous versus synchronous. Okay, so half of it is a so there's a lot of technical that's already pre-programmed videos that you would watch, and then take online quizzes for, and then
so that's
asynchronous, and the synchronous part would be being in the classroom and actually having classroom time, either on Zoom now because of the confinement, but or on or in the physical classroom. But we tend to the physical part is very, very important because there are many activities that we do. Like there is 1 week that we spend in San Francisco. There is another week that we will spend in London, and to get to know the ecosystems there, to make many visits, many professional encounters. And so this is what makes it a lot of fun, actually. You get to
So you actually have to travel to go to San Francisco and London, and in Europe, in places like Zug or I don't know.
Well, in Europe, we're taking advantage actually of the INSECU, because INSECU is our mother company or the umbrella company, and INSECU University, which has many of these schools under the umbrella. We have schools throughout the world, campuses throughout the world. I think we might have 9 campuses throughout the world, and one campus is in London and the other one is in San Francisco. And so it's primarily these two, because we have two other these are kind of partnership programs that we spend a week in London and a week in San Francisco. Now for the European ecosystem of blockchain, we consider ourselves kind of in the thick of it by being allied with Chain Accelerator, being in Paris, and so we're part of the Paris ecosystem of the blockchain. I have to say that it's not the biggest one in Europe. The biggest one in Europe is probably in Berlin for the technical development side, and then for the cryptocurrency, it's probably in Switzerland, and then one might say Malta.
Malta, the beaches of Malta, fantastic. Right, one day we'll go back there. One day who knows. So, that's very interesting, and I think that's very important to say that you just mentioned yourself at the beginning of the interview. People have a tendency to mix up Bitcoin and blockchain. So, can you just remind us, what else can you do with the blockchain technology?
Oh, yeah. It is with the birth of Ethereum that we had the smart contract.
All right.
And so if you look at, I like to use this metaphor, if Bitcoin is the father, Ethereum is the mother. She's the one who gives birth to all these new projects and possibilities. And
that's a nice analogy. It's a nice analogy,
huh?
Yeah, the yin and the yang. Yeah, of course. Yeah, okay. It works. Actually, it works. Yeah. Hard money and
Yeah, because of the smart contract. And the smart contract has really opened up the possibility for lots of uses throughout the industry. And this is, again, I believe the technology is already there. It's just that we need the necessary qualified people who can realize those projects from A to Z.
All right. Okay. So that's a good analogy. And so what sort of area are we talking about? So that's definitely one aspect of it is a smart contract. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's all the things you can do with it. And then and the whole architecture around the smart contracts. Okay. That's one thing. So, I mean, what are the obvious, if you want, path towards which you're going to apply to what is it, banking, insurance?
Yes. So yeah, the big uses right now for it is in banking
right.
and of course insurance, supply chain.
Supply chain. All right. Supply chain. Okay.
Yeah,
supply chain management.
These are the big areas.
Okay.
A bank, insurance, supply chain, and then we have anything to deal with deeds and rights, which has to do with like real estate. So there's a real estate industry that's burgeoning, but with some regulatory difficulties and hurdles. There's education, big potential in education, and especially government. And government really needs the blockchain.
They need the blockchain. They need smart contract to enshrine the fact that they need to be delivered every month a certain amount of respiratory mask to the masses. And then we could have a smart contract that would actually follow it through a blockchain, the supply chain, wherever that supply chain starts and wherever it finishes.
Yes, that's one use for the government. But even managing IoT for systems, like for example, you want the street lights, okay?
Yes.
You want to manage your street lights. And however, you want to create it in a way where they communicate with other devices, and you need to have some registry of this, and this transaction also needs, if you want to take it into the private sphere, so you encourage private people to invest, and then you need a transaction mechanism that's automated. Right. And so this is what we can foresee in the near future is that when we look at the IoT usage and how you're going to get all these micropayments through, it's the blockchain. And so it's just it's around the corner. It's just that it just takes a little bit of imagination to see how useful, especially when we get into this, when we extend the automation feature out, how useful the blockchain or how necessary the blockchain will be, especially for micropayments.
Every time, micropayments, and every time you're going to have a transaction between two different systems, all right, we're going to need at some point a blockchain to monitor those transactions.
Yes, because otherwise, the only thing that the humans should do is just approve of it. And so we just program, especially micropayments between devices. And so if you want to create these micropayment systems to account for usage, then yes, we're gonna need the blockchain. And this is it's going to be impossible to approve of every little micropayment.
Exactly. So, in regard to the going back to the master again, just quickly, as far as the enrollment is concerned, how do we get into the school? How do we get in touch with the school? When does it start? When does it finish?
Yes. So we have
summer school. What is it? Yeah.
So we're the next we're opening up in September. September, and the enrollment is quite simple. You just go online and you enroll, and then there is a application process where you go through a series of you have to hand in your transcripts and then you go into the interviews to see if you are qualified enough. And this is the caveat is that you cannot just get a master's without having a master's 2 or an MBA without having some sort of a qualified education beforehand. And so you have to we have to make sure that you are qualified for the program. And the next step is the interview to see whether or not why you want to take the program and if this is a good fit for you, for the candidate.
All right. Okay. So it's quite a standard procedure if I get it right. Yes. There's nothing kind of special,
No.
You have an interview. No. Yeah. Nothing. Okay. All right. You don't have to create your own cryptocurrency or.
No, not at all.
Okay. All right.
In fact, even though the majority of the students who are coming to our program have done some kind of initial experience in the blockchain, it is designed so that if you come with zero knowledge, actually there is a student who came with zero knowledge. She's doing actually very, very well.
Right.
Yeah, so it is designed so that you can come with very little knowledge of what blockchain is, and you can actually get up and running. It's designed for all levels actually, and we have people who really are experts in the field actually, not necessarily blockchain, but in programming. And yes, but because blockchain is it can be so complicated and it can be so many different choices, it's mind-boggling. Even the people who are so-called experts still are constantly learning.
All right. Okay. Oh, fantastic. That's quite interesting. So how many students do you have right now, roughly?
Our first class, we started with 10, and 2 dropped out because it is a very rigorous program. Yes, and after the first evaluations, it became clear that these 2 students couldn't follow through.
All right, okay.
And so, but the 8 that we do have left are very strong candidates. They have very interesting projects.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. I know we're not delivering financial advice. All right. We've already said that. Okay. We're not. But I'm still going to ask you the question. If you could give me your top 5 cryptocurrencies at the moment.
Okay. I'll give you what I like. Personally, what I like is Chainlink.
Chainlink. All right.
Because we do have this need if we're going to work with IoT systems for Oracle data, verifiable data that we call oracles, and to work with because the blockchain cannot work in a pure blockchain environment. It has to interact with existing systems and even the cloud databases but there is an advantage to having that blockchain layer. And so for me, Chainlink is a very interesting project that I really like. I also like Hedera Hashgraph, and the reason why.
All right, okay.
And the reason why is because, again, with the IoT,
it's the project behind it. That's what people have to understand. It's the project behind it that you're actually supporting.
Of course, yes, yes, and this is it. And of course, we do have IOTA, but it does give an alternative to what IOTA can do. So for me, I really like that project. Another project that I believe in is Icon. Believe it or not, a Korean blockchain. And the reason why I like this project, Icon, is because it's pretty much standardized in Korea now, South Korea.
Right.
And so they're running the Icon.
You have mass adoption somewhere already.
Yes, and because the big mass adoption point is having the national identity on the blockchain.
Right.
And the Icon loop, the Icon project, you can actually have your passport on your mobile phone. And because it's on the blockchain, and you carry it around with you. So you can have your virtual passport everywhere where you go. And this is enormous for the healthcare systems, for anything governmental, and anything related. So imagine in France, we have our le carte de sécurité, carte d'assurance maladie, carte vitale. And imagine that taken to another level, where that being on the blockchain, and you don't even need that card. You can just have a QR code. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so and then that and this we really need this in certain countries like United States, because in the United States there is no carte vitale, and it's administrative nightmare.
There's a need for that, definitely. Well, we're seeing everything unraveling right now, so that's perfect. So yeah, okay, that's. I think we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you again for coming, and I'm gonna give you the last words first. And if you want to say anything to the world or to this new podcast world order or new post-COVID world order, whatever it is. If you want to say anything, I'm willing to listen.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it is, even though these times are difficult for most of us, that it is these times that we can invest in learning about where the future will be, the near future will be coming out.
Totally right. You're totally right. We have to do that. I mean, the onus is on us to actually do that. This is the best time to actually get trained, get a certificate, get a master, but do something. All right. Just don't sit on your hand and waiting for the government or somebody else to come and help you. They're not coming. All right. You are on your own. And that means you have to work on yourself. That's the first thing you need to do. Work on self first. And working on self first, one of the best way of doing that is actually doing what you just said, the training, a certification, a master, do something.
Yeah, and that's why economy gets stronger after coming out of a crisis like this, is because you're going to see many systems fail, the old systems fail, and the stronger ones with these new technologies becoming even more quickly adopted. And so in a way, I see it as a great opportunity for our program.
Yeah, as soon as you introduce social distancing, that means you increase the importance of social media by definition, right?
Yes,
you create social distancing, then therefore social media becomes more important. So that's definitely one of the lessons we are going to carry onto our next podcast, which will probably be in French, because we're going to do a French version of this podcast. So for our French listeners and our French fans, please do not forget to listen to and subscribe to our podcast, the sister podcast and blog, www.admpawards.biz, admpawards.biz. You can find us on Spreaker, of course, and all the good platform where you do enjoy your pod experience. All right. Check the ESC Business School Master, whether you want to join it or simply become a partner. All right. We need businesses to come forward and connect with schools if we want to end those unemployment vicious cycles and go towards a virtuous cycle. Actually, I'm going to ask you again the ESC podcast websites, all right? And if there's a Twitter, if there is anything, please tell us now, Doctor.
All right. Well, just ESE .fr is where. Oh no, it's master and with an E, master in French. .ese.fr. You'll find us there, and please sign up.
All right. Is there a Twitter or a handle somewhere, or?
Not yet. We haven't created a Twitter account yet.
All right.
But we do have our internal. We have our internal Slack account. But yeah, we have to do more outreach. That's definitely what we have to work on.
Okay. So we all have to do something. Okay, good to know that. All right. So goodbye. My name was Herman Jumesi, host of Blocked Down Blockchain Podcasts, with my co-host and interviewee today, Dr. Won King from the ESC Business School, Paris. The aim of the Blocked Down Blockchain Podcast is to chart the rise of the blockchain technology in all aspects of our lives and how it changed it from the perspective of the electronic influencer. BDB1 with off. Thank you again. Listen, like, and share. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.